everyone. I know that I'm not a native speaker of English, and I'm sorry if you don't like watching videos of people who obviously don't have English as their first language. But I wanted to make this in English because I love what I'm going to talk about. I really want to talk about it with you guys. If you see it, if you don't, that's okay. You can ignore it. I am a person that loves fan fiction too much and that has decided to do videos recommending fanfiction. I'm not sure if people will see it, maybe they won't, but I'm sure that there's a lot of people in the community who love fanfiction, so these videos are for you. To those of you who do not know what fanfiction is a recreation of a transformation, to say, of a story that already exists so that you can fit your own version of it. For example, if I'm gonna use Harry Potter because I'm gonna talk about a fanfic of Harry Potter. So, for example, you love Harry Potter, but you don't like the epilogue. So you write a story about what you think would happen in an epilogue. Or you like everything, the epilogue, the canon, but you want to add more, like what would happen? What would actually happen after the epilogue? Or in between the epilogue and after the Battle of Hogwarts, right? So you write what you think what happened. You can write a story about what would happen with the Marauders. Maybe what you speculate is their relationship, so you write about it, or you decide to change the story. Like, for example, what would have happened if Harry had become friends with Draco since the beginning? And yeah, that's fan fiction. It's when you change the story and write a story about it, about what you think would happen, what you think would be better, or even adding more points of view. Like, for example, writing a story of the canon exactly as it is, but in the point of view of Luna Lovegood or Blaise Sabini, Michael Corner, Ernie Macmillan. I don't know. But yeah, that's fan fiction. There's a huge community about it. Huge community. So let's get right to it. Okay, so the story I'm going to recommend you guys is one called Draco Malfoy and the Letter from the Future from Draco. Will hear about this in Archive of Our Own. If you guys know what fanfiction is, what Archive of Our Own is, it's a page where you can read fanfiction, you can publish your own fanfiction, and stuff like that. This is an authentic page. There are many pages of fanfiction. The most prominent ones are fanfiction.net, Archive of Our Own, and Wattpad. So anyway, this story is called Draco and the Letter from the Future, and you can probably speculate that about the future thing. Yeah. So this story is mostly about what would have happened if Harry and Draco had become friends since the beginning, and it deals with the whole topic of future. Let me read to you the summary. All he wanted was a way out, a way to do it all over again and to erase his mistakes. He stared at the crackling blue flames so hard they imprinted in his vision. At age 11, Draco receives a letter from the future which will make him change the path he has set out upon and lead him into a life he'd never dared to imagine. So, this is the plot. It is basically, yes, speculation of the future. Once again, time traveling, but it's not time traveling as such. You know that when people travel to the past or the future, they keep the memories of what happened. For example, if Draco Malfoy travels to the past, he remembers everything that happened and he can act upon it. But in this story, it's more like he sends something to the past self. So the Draco of the past, the 11-year-old Draco, will not remember anything from the future because he hasn't lived it. It's 1998 and Draco Malfoy is about to go on trial because his parents are going on trial in front of Wizengamot. And well, it's not going well. It's definitely not going well. And Draco Malfoy starts like reflecting on his life, like everything went wrong since I took the dark mark, and it definitely could have gone a lot better, and it cannot get any worse than this. So he remembers a conversation that he had with his dad, Lucius Malfoy, that said that the fireplace and the Malfoy Manor had magic properties that had something to do with time. I'm not going to specify too much so that you can read it yourself. So he writes a letter to his past self so that he can, like, you know, snap out of it. So he sends it, and then we change the scene to 11-year-old Draco in 1991, and he stumbles out of the chimney for some reason, and he's like, what in Salazar is going on here? So he wakes up and he reads the parchment, and he's like, this handwriting is really familiar. And then the letter starts with Draco, and of course it shocks him to have Draco and then his own handwriting. So it's like, what is going on here? So he starts to read it, and it's a message from the future, and he's like, Draco, I'm you from the future, from 1998. Right now we're having a rough time, so I'm going to tell you some advice on how to avoid getting into this fate again. So first of all, befriend Harry Potter. Be nice to him. You will meet him at Madame Malkin's. Be nice to him, okay? For he doesn't know anything of the wizarding world, so don't start acting all cocky or anything. So like, he's a little baby who doesn't know anything, so do not act high and mighty, because first of all, blood doesn't matter. Everything that your dad taught you, wrong. Forget about it. Like, erase it from your mind. So just start. Blood doesn't matter. I've lived it. Blood doesn't matter. And of course, Draco's like, this must be a prank. I mean, like, seriously, this must be a prank. Like, why would someone send me a letter saying this? I know my father is right. My father is everything. But he's like, why? And then, I think a piece of paper falls from the letter that says a spell. And when he reads it, he starts to see glimpses of the future of the 1998 Draco, of his life, of the war, of the fire in the room of requirement, of the Dead Eater circles and stuff like that, like awful, awful stuff. And of course, baby Draco, who is 11, gets really shocked by all of this. Who wouldn't? So he freaks out and starts to forget about it. Like, okay, you know what? This is a prank. I'm not gonna believe it. This is evil magic or whatever. So I'm gonna ignore it. But he starts to think, but if what he says in the letter does happen, then I will listen. So of course he puts it in the back of his mind, and he goes on with his day. And that day they're going to go to Diagon Alley to buy his materials for Hogwarts and stuff like that. So he goes there. When he arrives to Madame Malkin, he starts to remember the letter, like, oh my god, the letter. And then he meets Harry Potter. So of course he tries to be as nice as he can, because he's still young, doesn't know. He's still nice. And then when he gets home, he freaks out. He has a panic attack and everything. I think he has a panic attack. I don't remember. But he freaks out. And of course, starts to reflect on his life a lot. And starts to go to Hogwarts with an open mind. A bit doubtedly. Who wouldn't? It's not exactly time traveling, but it's a really, really, really great story. Here are the reasons why you should read it. It's a great story. First of all, they give a redemption arc to Draco. He starts to fix his whole mindset. he changes. He actually works to the light side, and for the light side, sorry, and he starts to become friends with Harry and with other people who he normally wouldn't. And he does change his mentality of blood purity. You might think that, you know what, I've read a lot of stories where the mentality is like a change so immediate that it's unbelievable almost. But no, in this story, it's a really gradual change. It's really a growth, a mental growth, so it's great. It's perfectly structured, and it's a redemption arc for Draco, which we love. And if you don't love him, then read this story to change your mind a bit. Be open-minded. Number 2, they give a really positive image of Slytherin. Of course, not all Slytherins are positive. Some of them are bullies in the story, not in real life. So yes, like all houses, it's not all good. Like in Gryffindor, it's not all good. Not all Hufflepuffs are all good. Not all Ravenclaws are all good. Not all Slytherins are bad. It's like that. They try to really balance the whole image of Slytherin, and it works really well because they give a really, really compelling side of the story to Slytherin. He kind of becomes the icon, the idol for those in Slytherin to say, you know what, I don't have to be a Death Eater if I'm a Slytherin. So it's great. Number 3. Okay, so the story won't be the same timeline as Harry Potter per se. I mean, the whole plot is kind of the same, like Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and the Chamber of Secrets and the Prisoner of Azkaban and stuff like that. It's the same. Yes, it's the same. But not exactly. Because this time, well, Draco is involved in Harry's life, so that should change a few things, right? Some things do change. It's the same story, but not exactly, because it's not repeated. For example, some of the events are only now described, but not exactly seen in detail. So we don't see the same story. We see the same plot, not the same story. Some things change in the story. The author does change a few things because Draco is involved now, so of course the alternate universe changes. And again, we don't see it from Harry's perspective this time. We're going to see it from Draco's perspective. So of course it will be different. So it's a great story because now you're going to see it from an outsider kind of view. Number 4. There's Drarry. So if you like Draco and Harry as a couple, if you ship it, then you should read this story because the author clarifies since the first book that it will be a Draco and Harry kind of story. Of course, the relationship doesn't begin since the first book, but the author assures you that it will happen. It's endgame. So yes. Of course, we are also going to see the development of their relationship. It isn't something that happens out of the blue. We see it grow. We see it develop. It's amazing. Number 5. The characters are totally in character. They're not OOC at all. They stick to the canon version of the characters, so it's really, really great. They're not like out of whack, the characters, to say. If you read them, you're gonna recognize, oh, this is Draco, oh, this is Harry, or this is Ron, this is Hermione, this is Ginny. It really doesn't go out of their depth. They are totally in character, so that's great, because we have seen many stories where they go like, that's not at all what Ron would say, you know? So in each way, because even though Draco does change his mentality, he's still his sarcastic, sassy self, so it's great. 6. The story plot is really well developed. Like, it goes in a logical order, and the characters grow in a logical order. The story is perfectly planned, even though you know what is going to happen. It's great because it's at the same time surprising, you know? You read everything with a new eye. It's perfectly well planned out. Nothing comes out of the blue. It's great. Number 7. This story will have a sequel. The story began in 2017, and currently the author is finishing it. She's actually about to finish the 7th book. I'm thinking of the movies. She's about to finish the 7th book. I think there's 4 chapters left. And then after that she will write a sequel where she will put snippets of scenes that happened in the story from the point of view of Harry or Ginny or Ron or Hermione, like from the point of view of other characters. She will also develop other characters that appear that I will not mention. And you might think, that's Harry Potter, you know, the books. But no. You're going to see scenes that she invented. This is the thing. You're not going to read Harry Potter again. You're going to get into the world, yes. You're not going to read the same thing again. No, you're going to read something completely different. Believe me. Believe me, as someone who has read Harry Potter too many times. But I'm still not bored of it. So yes, you're going to see snippets of Harry's point of view in certain situations that don't happen in the book or something like that. The things that she changed otherwise. Mostly because there are some points in the story that are so huge, so filled of emotion and suffering and angst and fluff. If you want to see those moments, those emotional, strong moments from the point of view of Harry, you will. Because she's working on it at the moment. And this story has translations to Spanish, French, Thai, and Russian, I think. And there's also a podcast, an audio fic, not a podcast, an audio fic of this fanfiction. So if you want to read it a lot of times, but you also want to read it while you're doing the dishes, taking a shower, and walking, or stuff like that, you can hear it instead of read it. You should totally read it. It's my favorite fanfiction of Harry Potter. I swear. I've read it 3 times, and I'm hearing the audio fic at the moment. It's great. The story goes along with the books. There are 7 books. And just like that, there are 7 audio files. You should totally watch it. You should totally read it. I guarantee you it's an amazing story. So please go now, read it. I'm gonna leave the links down here so you can read it. Thank you for watching this.